Welcome to the Real Estate Mogul MD podcast. Thanks for tuning in and taking control of your financial future. This is a show where we not only motivate and inspire, we give you actionable real-world experience to help you live life by design. You'll hear journeys and stories from other physicians, investors, coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs. And now, here's your host, Brett Riggins. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Real Estate Mogul MD. My name is Brett Riggins. I'm an investor, an entrepreneur. I'm an author. I'm actually speaking with medical professionals, high-income earners, and other investors, sharing the real-world journeys along with the to-dos and, most importantly, the not-to-dos. Today, we have the opportunity to speak with a board-certified neurologist and sleep medicine specialist. This is going to be interesting. He's the founder and president of Sahatu Sleep Clinic in Roseville, California, sunny California here today, and the clinic's growing operations in the Middle East as well as South Asia. Amer Khan, MD, welcome to the show. And how did I do on the name again? We practiced before. How did I do?
You did fine, Brett. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah,
it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Always exciting, and as our listeners know, it's a conversation, and I get the privilege of speaking with sleep specialists, and it's something that I'm always I'm a seeker. I feel of knowledge, and it's like that's something that's engaged. And this conversation I'm excited to have because of your background and your passion and how it's affecting the U.S. economy in particular. So they're kind of like rolling into the investment side of it. But could you just start off by just giving us a little bit about your journey in medicine so far?
Yeah. If you just look at the kind of my career line, I started out, I went to medical school, grew up in Pakistan, came here right after medical school, did a residency in pediatrics, moved on to the specialty of pediatric neurology, and practiced pediatric neurology for about 15 years. And then gradually in that process, switched over into sleep medicine, first with pediatric sleep medicine, then into sleep medicine for everyone. Found this to be way more rewarding professionally. And so gradually shifted away from neurology and used my kind of neurology background to get more insight into sleep issues and vice versa. So now my practice is all sleep medicine. So, this is a 25 plus year journey, starting out from one end, taking care of little babies and telling moms how to change diapers and feed the babies and what does it mean to have diarrhea and how often they need to be nursed, going from that to little kids having seizures and attention deficit and autism and so on. And then moving over to trouble with sleep. And so when we talk about trouble with sleep, it's not just nighttime issues, it's also daytime issues. So in terms of not being able to sleep well, not being able to sleep long enough, when it's time to sleep, not feeling rested and energized by the morning, and not having enough energy throughout the day, feeling tired and sleepy. So both aspects of it, sleepiness and the lack of energy during the day, not being able to accomplish the best that you have the potential to do, and not being able to recharge yourself during the night, both are parts of what we address. And then there are so many different problems that are part of all of this. People have trouble going to sleep. People have trouble with snoring. People have trouble waking up multiple times to go to the bathroom. They wake up too early. Their minds are busy. So all kinds of things. They have nightmares, they talk, they walk and sleep, and then they get up for the morning and they don't feel rested. Then they, have a lot of caffeine, They try to stay active. They have, so many demands on all of us these days, so many responsibilities. And people find it difficult to meet those challenges. Young people, old people, all age groups. When you're very young, when you're in your early 20s, your body has a lot of capacity to cope with stress. So you may not have that many symptoms, or you may feel like you can get by with less sleep or poor sleep or taking more caffeine. But as you get older, your body's ability to deal with those things declines, and then you start feeling the symptoms. The other thing that happens is it's that many years of damage to the body from not getting enough sleep, which brings us to the big issue of what does it mean to sleep? Why is it that so important? And sleep is important because it's what holds your body together. It is the time of the day when your body, including your physical body, emotional, mental abilities, every part of your body, every system in your body undergoes required maintenance work. Without this maintenance work, you cannot achieve your full potential. You cannot work at your best. You cannot make the best decisions, which in turn means that every aspect of how we function depends on how we sleep. So just to name a few, what we eat, how we eat, what do we crave, how do we pay attention, concentrate, make decisions, hasty decisions. Are we more anxious, more depressed? Do we have more energy to do things when we're tired? When we're tired and sleepy, our decision-making abilities go down, our ability to concentrate and do the right thing declines. So those, in terms of functioning things affect us that oftentimes we don't realize. And in the big things, safety-related issues are driving is a big part of it. Sleepy driving is only second to drunk driving as a cause of major accidents, particularly single car accidents. So that is a big thing. But relatively subtle things that people don't realize, not being able to remember names, not being able to remember a lot of things, or doing things in the right sequence, or it gets very, very complex in every aspect of mental and physical functioning. And you talk about physical functioning, so sports people, they have a high demand on performing really, really well physically, when they can't if they don't sleep well. So we are working with athletes, competitive athletes, people who are mixed martial arts, into mixed martial arts. They're competing in major events. We're working with them to improve their quality of sleep so that they can perform better internationally.
And when you changed from pediatrics to what sounds like adults in the sleep phase, when you say that it's more rewarding, what did you mean by that? How did it become more rewarding for you?
It's more rewarding because when I dealt with kids and the kind of neurological problems that we were dealing with, they're very, very frustrating, difficult problems that don't have a cure. We still don't have a cure. We can treat them, we can make their life better, but it's so frustrating and difficult to be a parent and see your child go through all of this. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times it ends up with, years and years of testing and different treatments and not knowing how your child is going to turn out. So what happens is that a lot of these families come into the doctor with a lot of expectations and built up frustrations. And so the burden falls on their doctor to help them understand and educate them and figure the problem out, and treat it the best that they can. So it becomes from my end, I may be able to control a child's seizures who could be having 20 to 40 to 50 seizures in a day. I may reduce them down to 2 or 3 seizures a day. But for the child's mother, it's still 3 seizures a day. The child still can function as well. So going from that to sleep aspect, grown-ups, some of my patients are in their 90s, and they may be as young as 2 or 3 years old or even younger. So we have the entire spectrum of age groups. So now we're dealing with very concrete problems that we can address and make a definite change and improvement in their quality of life. And so professionally, that's very, I can see those results very quickly. And the patients appreciate that very quickly. They come in tired and sleepy and exhausted, and give it a few months and they're much better. So I can see the results of my work. That makes it much more rewarding there.
Yeah, and more gratification for sure. What's been your biggest challenge so far in your medical journey?
The biggest, so as I was describing to you, the biggest challenge is not immediately professional. The biggest challenge is the healthcare system in general. The American healthcare system is the most expensive system anywhere. But the results that we get from the system are not proportionate to the amount of money spent on it. And so the frustrations in this whole process really come from how the healthcare system is designed and is presently working. That is one major reason that we're looking outside of the United States to provide more care to people internationally, where it's just not available to a lot of people. So working and growing professionally or as a business in the US, especially not being a large corporation, has become extremely difficult. So that in terms of, in terms of my work, that is the biggest difficulty.
Yeah. And, that I'm not a physician, and I do hear a lot of this, the talk of corporate in groups and how that is affecting everything. And, on the front side of me just trying to speak with physicians, that the complexity of layers that's been created to even speak with somebody, and the regulations, and there's like so many pieces from the outside looking in that I can feel the change. And I imagine from the inside, you can absolutely see that difference of corporation versus, a smaller practice.
Yeah. So in the big perspective, you can, it's hard from an outsider to appreciate this, but as the financial pie has increased in size, it has attracted a lot of people who are not medical people, and they have created a space for themselves in this area, so that they have become stakeholders in many different ways that have people who have pretty much nothing to do with the practice of medicine.
And what kind of group would that be that's kind of like filling in? Is it more administrative?
So a lot of third parties. I'll just give you a very simple, straightforward example. You want to buy, let's say, a syringe for your office. We don't use syringes in my office. But if you want to buy a syringe, you have to buy it from a company, which buys it from another company, which may have it produced somewhere else overseas and have it shipped to them. So each middle person has to take a cut in this. And by the time it reaches the medical provider, a $1 item may be worth $10.
Right.
So that's in the big sense of things. In a more specific sense of things, what this has resulted in is that the person who actually provides the care, the doctor or the medical provider, their incomes have stayed the same or decreased in the last 10 years. So per patient, what I get paid has stayed the same or decreased. but inflation has tremendously gone up. So the cost of doing business at my end keeps going up while what I'm paid goes down. And so the challenge for me as an independent provider or as a small company is, how do I stay ahead of that game? And it's really, in the long term, it's impossible. But in the short term, you have to find new opportunities, new ways of having earning streams that still, are a part of the care you provide, that improve the quality of care you provide, and so on. But you have to constantly innovate and find new ways of doing things. If you are a physician in independent practice and you just see patients and you've been doing this for 20 years, you're probably making about half of what you used to make 10 or 15 years ago.
Wow.
So that in the long run is not workable. It's not sustainable. A lot of these older physicians are just looking to retire and be done because they can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
The younger physicians who are coming in, they have grown up in this environment of corporate healthcare. So they're looking at 9-to-5 jobs that are labeled as, that provides great work-life balance and so on. They take lower salaries. They don't know any better. And so they've become a number. A number meaning something that I quote when I used to be an employee in a corporate healthcare system some years ago, I had the CEO of the company come in a meeting with 20 other doctors. And he said, "You're all going to take a 10% pay cut. You don't like it, find another job. You guys are just a number to us."
Oh, man.
Okay. So
management,
a physician who's given his life to his profession.
Yeah.
Myself, I grew up in another country. I went to medical school in another country. In some ways, it was financially easier. But since I was in high school, I've really given my entire life to being a part of this profession, to taking care of people. I gave up a lot of usual pleasures of life that young people have, simply focused on developing my career. And 5, 10, 20, 25 years later, what I hear is, we don't care about who you are. We can replace you, a physician. We can find people a dime a dozen. Well, you can't find what I do a dime a dozen, which in turn means that this corporate healthcare environment, they still don't have a doctor to replace me 7 years later in what I used to do for them. But it's not important to them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this is a changing environment, the change that has happened over the last 10, 15 years or more. And it's progressive, and it will keep on happening. It's just an evolution of a process. But this evolution means it's a change. So new doctors who come into the field, kids who ask me, should I go to medical school? What should I expect when I become a doctor? They have to know ahead of time what they're getting into. You're going to give all your life to this, but you're not going to be the highest earner in the room. Somebody could have started in business or IT or something and finished college at 22. They could be making 5 or 10 times what you make by the time you start earning anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any advice that you would have for somebody, like somebody that's younger coming out and who wanted to avoid like a corporate structure? Is there any opportunity for them? Is there a different avenue, a different path?
The opportunity is in being an entrepreneur. So we are from the beginning, when I started out, opened up my own office. The idea was not to have an office and see 15, 20 patients a day and retire from this job. The idea was create new opportunities, find new ways of helping people, things that I was not allowed to do within the corporate environment because it didn't suit their interests. for many different reasons. Could give you many examples. We don't need to go into those. But so now I got the opportunity to develop those interests, to do more things for my patients, for their benefit. And that keeps the practice exciting. So if you have, I was in another meeting that I just mentioned to you with the CEO. In another personal meeting, the gentleman told me, you're too much of an entrepreneur for our corporate environment. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is, young people, say kids in high school, because we have a number of interns come into the office and they see how we function and so on. We are a startup company. We look at ourselves as a startup company. We are a technology-based company. Even though we're healthcare, that we're heavy on technology. We find new devices, new treatments. We stay ahead of the game. We do things that in the corporate environment, they're not used to seeing, because their decision-making is based on number crunching that comes from, large groups, large organizations, their business people, how they do their calculations. We can see it specific to our specialty, specific to our patients. We see them, we find that there's a problem, an issue that needs to be dealt with, and we find whatever is the newest and the best that we can offer our patients. And we can find more efficiencies in the system that the corporate system cannot. So even remaining within the constraints of the extremely regulated healthcare industry, we, looking at this as a startup company, at least find it exciting, if not financially rewarding, to keep going. Mm-hmm. But if a young physician comes in and just wants to start their practice as an independent doctor, they cannot survive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely challenging. And it's probably that's where we would jump outside of just being down this career path. I mean, I think that suggestion aligns for a lot of different industries, being in as an entrepreneur. And as an entrepreneur myself, it was a struggle for me coming out of the gate, because I hear things like, if you hold back from one of your employees, you could be keeping them from growing and helping you. In the same time, when you train them and show them, they have the opportunity to become the person at the table that takes what you're eating, right? So there's this challenge up and down, and being in this path, we hear things like intrapreneur, which is very, very interesting. And I love that path. And if you can go on this journey where goals align with similar minded people, it's just a whole different path. So what I hear is like, that's the path forward to avoid being stuck in what sounds to me like an industrialized medicine career, where it's like back when, you say go to college, you learn, and then you go do this job, right? And then that's what you do. And then you're there for 40, 50 years, and then you're done, right? And you just didn't know any different. And the way to escape that was to become an entrepreneur, be your own business and make those changes. And that feels like exactly what the suggestion is inside of medicine,
Yeah. So just to kind of slightly pivot this conversation in a different way, for what we do in sleep medicine has a huge economic impact worldwide. Mm-hmm. People who don't show up for work because they slept in too late, people who cannot perform their daily functions in their jobs because they're too tired and sleepy, they cost the economies trillions of dollars worldwide. People who don't sleep well.
Is that why we have corporate, though? To give that person a job because they can't better themselves to go to bed at the right time or eat the right foods, or, come in wanting to do their job?
Yeah. So as you can probably relate, but corporate jobs don't really require wanting to come to work.
Yeah.
You work for the weekend.
Yeah.
And for the vacation that you hope to get and go to Disneyland.
Yeah.
Or living in California, people, I know a lot of people who work they're going to have a trip to Hawaii with their family, and that's what they work for.
Yeah.
So, I mean, different people have different motivations, but the cost of people not sleeping well in the healthcare system are even bigger.
Yeah.
So people who don't sleep well are more overweight. They have less drive, physically, emotionally, and mentally. They are less motivated. They have more diabetes. They have more high blood pressure. They have more strokes. They have more disability. They have more aches and pains. And as we age and the cost of healthcare is skewed towards the older population, being, the major cost of healthcare is after 80 years of age. But as we get to that point, or people get to 70 or higher, they often, you retire from work and all you end up doing is, today I have a doctor's appointment for this problem and tomorrow I have a doctor's appointment for that problem, simply because, well, part of it is normal aging, but a lot of that aging process could have been delayed. And a lot of those diseases that are affecting these people and the overall economy and costing the healthcare system trillions of dollars could have been delayed, avoided, or better treated if people were sleeping better over their lifetime. That is incredible.
Yeah. Do you think that stress has to be a piece of it, whether it's in corporate, out of corporate, unemployed, in school? I mean, the career education that is required for to practice medicine is stressful in and of itself. The cost of it, then when you get out and you start making money, the stress is crazy. So, I mean, could any of that be paired back as well with more financial education through it? I mean, would more financial education help the sleep? What do you think?
Yes. So if you manage stress better. So stress is it's an interesting discussion about stress. Stress is necessary to live life. Okay. The day you don't have stress, you're not alive. Mm-hmm. Right. The amount of stress a person has is related to their ability to manage stress, each individual. I have seen people who are refugees who came from places where they had, entire populations wiped out and their families killed in front of them. And they're well-adjusted, living their life. They've made peace with their whatever happened, and they're fine. And I see other people who have the simplest and the easiest of jobs, or have a life where it's paid for and they have enough money for that. So there's no financial stress, yet they're stressed out.
Yeah.
Okay. So how we manage and how we learn to manage stress is important. Now, come to talk about financial stress. That's what bothers me. That's my stress. Mm-hmm. Okay. As a business person. So I have to worry about the next paycheck, how I'm going to make the next payroll. How about the one after that? How am I going to grow? How am I going to hire more employees? If I hire more employees, I have to have more business. If I have more business, I need more employees. So that financial component is important. And so, yes, if I had more financial education, that is the one piece that I find lacking in my entire educational career.
That is exactly why I feel a lot of people choose the path of 9 to 5, because the stress, I'm sure that you felt this, Amer, that stress that carries on. How can I make payroll? Because the people, most of the time, the people taking in payroll, it doesn't matter what the company's doing or what direction the company's going. It's, hey, why haven't I been paid, right? Where's my money? That's what's important. And the stress that we carry as entrepreneurs is You know it. I mean, it gives me goosebumps thinking about it because I will never miss payroll ever, ever, ever. It is getting paid. And that's the hard part because it's you and your family that's on the line. So that stress that's there as an entrepreneur is a great piece of it. You may still have the stress of not making as much, but some of the people that I felt in this journey where they not necessarily, I mean, they're more than just clock in, clock out, where they have a lot to bring to the table. But those are the ones that are like, why can't you be more like me? Why can't you want this more? Why can't you put more into it? But they have that the story they tell themselves is, hey, this is perfect because where I'm focusing is over here. And that's something I struggle with, is being able to turn this off, this entrepreneur thing off, and focus more on the things that I tell myself matter more. But my actions don't say the same,
Yeah, that's the challenge of being an entrepreneur. Yeah. So I think you're right. So for people, for doctors who are choosing the 9-to-5 lifestyle and making less money, it's all about stability in life. So I go to work every day. I work for a large corporate environment. I know I'm going to get a paycheck. I'll put so much money towards retirement. I'll retire in 30 years, and I'll have X amount of money. And I calculate that, and I talk to a financial advisor, and I take my vacations, and that's kind of standard corporate life. The challenge is another thing that I find when I talk to my friends who talk about retirement a lot, and they're getting in that phase of life that they say, I'm going to retire in the next 2, 3, 5, 6 years. Mm-hmm. And the challenge is you've lived that life and you've saved an X amount of money. But as you know, past performance does not mean anything about future performance of the financial markets. And the world is changing too rapidly. So if you're 55 or 60 years old and looking to retire soon, some people are even younger looking to retire soon because they think they've have enough of a nest egg, enough money they've saved up. That enough is not going to be enough. And what do you do about that? Mm-hmm. You can only save so much unless you had a different mindset about things. But that's debatable. How do you live life? So there's the relatively predictable kind of lifestyle that a standard corporate person can live in a corporate job. I'm talking about physicians. Mm-hmm. So physician can live, and I have friends who worked for a major corporate healthcare company in California for 30, 35 years. At that time, they used to have a pension plan. So they retired on a pension, which pays about 60, 70% of their prior income. Great. That pension plan is not offered to new physicians anymore. So now the new physicians who are coming in, all they have is you get paid X amount of dollars for your work, and you can save whatever you want to save on your 401k, and that's it. Yeah. And the cost of living relating to California has gone up so much that these employee doctors are really middle of the middle class. They're not even upper middle class anymore. They make barely enough money that they can buy a house and a car and live in a middle class neighborhood. If they want to go any further up higher than that, they have to make a lot more money, which they can't.
Yeah. I was speaking with Daniel Shin. He's a doctor as well and a real estate investor, and he came on and he had an interesting blog regarding the cost of living. It was somewhere around LA, somewhere in that area where an ER physician can't even afford to live in the city where he's practicing because of the cost of living in the housing. And it's in those conversations, I'm always fascinated because where we invest, in real estate, and kind of ties into the nest egg thing. It's like I was biting at the bit, trying to, thinking of, oh, let's jump into this. But I can buy a house, be all in, completely renovated, for under $150,000. And these are the properties that are going to turn and create that passive income consistently, not as related to the market and the volatile markets up and down. That's why I love real estate. That consistent, dependable cash flow when you do it right. And then the increase of property value, the increase of rent. So all of those creeping up. Just curious, have you had any experience in investing in real estate yourself?
Yeah, I have actually. I've experimented with it. Trying to sell a property now. I just recently moved to a new home and have a home that I'm selling. But over the years, I've owned some rental properties, had some experience with it, good and bad. The properties I had bought for rentals were too expensive. Mm-hmm. And so they were not the low-end properties.
Yeah.
And so that was not a very satisfying experience, particularly when you want to turn a property around, meaning you buy and sell. It's very hard to time it right. And the timing cycle could be off by several years, which means you either sit with it for several years or you're late selling it or something, mm-hmm. or buying. So you have to time it just right. And if it's a rental, the rental really that gives you a good return is the low end of the properties. Unfortunately, so in terms of property values, a 2,000 square foot home on a 5,000 square foot lot is upwards of $500,000. Mm-hmm. In where I am in a 15-mile radius.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and the perspective piece of low-end properties, it is, I guess it's just that it's perspective. So making sure, and when we look at investing, it's outside-in approach. So we're finding the area because we're on the cutting edge too. So we're on tech, and I'm literally buying houses that I never step foot in. And the idea of $150,000, I can have the nicest house on the market. I mean, it's mind blowing to have that kind of, because where I'm sitting at now, I couldn't do anything, to be close to that. But it's that piece of understanding which market to be in. And when you have markets like California, in the bigger areas, typically where we're going to see that cost increase, like Charlotte. We started investing in Charlotte about 3 or 4 years ago, and the prices just boom, 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 boom went up so high. So they quickly exceeded our investment criteria now. So it's not a market for us. When you said that you had a couple of bad experiences, I don't want to poke at the bad experiences, but what is one thing that stands out to you that you wouldn't do again? Owning a rental property?
So I had a couple of people break their lease. So that turning that rental around, so cost me too much money it's not paying back at all. And so if I have to find a new person to rent it out to every 6 months, I have to clean out the property and make sure it's in good shape for the next person. That's just costing me too much.
Yeah.
And if I want to sell it, then again, so I bought and sold without much profit. I rented these properties out for a year or 2 years. I think the longest experience I have is 3 or 4 years. After that, to me, that business of owning, multiple properties and thinking about passive income and rental from them, that I kind of lost interest in that.
Oh yeah,
So I think so. So as we started talking about financial education, the problem with medical education also is absolutely there's no financial education a part of it. But in a medical career, once you're so focused on what you do for people and patients and taking care of them, you really neglect learning more about finances. And when you feel like you have some money that you want to invest, then you ask, friends and family and whoever what you're doing, how you're doing it, and I'll jump into this too. And those are, then you go through some bad experiences before you realize, what is the right thing to do. And so that's a difficult learning phase while you're also focusing on your career.
Yeah.
So then, so it's a challenge.
Yeah. And in those instances, that can, create a perspective for you. So it's hard to go back and want to do it because the education that's required is based on math. And with that math, you can then build trust and build relationships, so there's that piece as well too. And once you get burned, it's hard to go back. Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like managing them yourself, that's stress in and of itself. There's so many pieces there, but what's one thing that you did like about owning real estate?
It kind of gives you a kind of a self-assurance, kind of a sense of pride that I have come to that part of my career that I own multiple properties, for example. Mm-hmm. That did, that was a big piece to me. But on the other hand, in terms of providing financial security or an income, it didn't do much for me.
Right.
So then because I started out saying, okay, I'm going to own X number of properties in the next 5 or 6 or 10 years and have so much rental income. And after the first, second, or third, I said, no, it's too much trouble for me.
Yeah. One thing that I'm doing now is trying to close that gap and offer this information, the math piece of it, because I know it sounds crazy. The idea of it is simple, and it's just determining where you want to be before you start is the biggest piece. And where can my money perform the best? This is all my perspective, obviously. Where can my money perform the best? I know it's pretty standard. I can get a good feel of how it's going to perform in 401ks and in the market and stuff like that. So I have that to build off of. Now I want to do better, and I need this much to perform here. Where can I do that? And then where am I going to be with my time? So I'm putting all of these things into the equation before I start, because there's lots of different solutions out there. And as far as tech goes and pushing the envelope and always looking for a better opportunity, creating better situations and giving better living opportunities to people too is remarkable. And how all of that affects our sleep. That's a good turn. How good can you sleep? One of the things that has, so we used to fix and flip a lot, where, you've probably seen the TV shows where you buy them and you fix them and you sell them. There are points where we would have 6 of them going at once. And I can tell you something, that when I heard the rain hitting our roof, oh my goodness, I would lose sleep for sure, because you just never know. I mean, when you have a building with when you don't take care of your property, you have a building with a bad roof, you will lose sleep guaranteed. So, but it's a great wrap. How can everybody reach out to you and find more about what you're doing? I like the idea, on the cutting edge of technology. You're working with athletes, high performance people. How can people reach out to you and find out a little more about what you're doing?
Well, yeah, they can certainly email me. The email address is very simple. It's my first name, Amer, at sehatusleep.com. And if you want to put it on the screen, SEHATU, sleep is one word, sehatusleep.com. They can always email me. Or they can reach out to me through LinkedIn, as you guys did. And so there's multiple ways. So I'd be happy to talk to them. Awesome. Right now, financially, what I'm looking for is investors in our endeavors, because we have such huge global expansion plans that require significant investment. but obviously the investor has to understand where we are, what we do, and how we plan to succeed.
That's great.
So.
Hey, a new platform here on Real Estate Mogul MD is reaching out for investors. That's all. That's great. Thank you for asking that, by the way. If anybody out there is interested in learning more about the development, and you're talking about the operations in the Middle East and South Asia for Sahatu Sleep Clinic, and the cutting edge drive, the passion, the desire, and the consistency that you've devoted your life, it's amazing. And I've absolutely appreciate our time. Thank you for the conversation. Amer Khan, MD, thank you so much for your time. Everybody out there, listeners, thank you again for spending your time here with us today. I want to hear from you guys. So if you get the chance, please send me an email, info@physicianwealthsystems.com. Anywhere that you're listening to the podcast, downloading it, you can see that address. Any questions that you have, if you want to reach out to the doctor here, any of the previous doctors, let me know what you think. Let me know of any shows or any topics that you'd like to discuss. We always thank you for your time, and we'll see you the next one. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.